Well, hello and welcome to this webinar. This is the end of the year and most companies are winding down, but for others, this is the busiest period in the season. Some will have to make sales based on the sales they made last year. So basically they want to meet demands. And one of the tools they use to meet such demands is a master production schedule. And in today's call, this is essentially what we are going to discuss. So I'd like to welcome you to this webinar, and I hope you enjoy. We are going to talk about the master production schedule, or in other words, MPS, using Odoo manufacturing and purchase apps. Our goal here is to show how companies like yours and mine can use the Odoo MPS or the MPS to just meet manufacturing demands and also purchase orders. My name is Al Spencer and I work at Odoo as a business analyst, where I handle projects both in the English and the French speaking markets in Africa. And I also love the manufacturing app. So our agenda for today is basically an introduction to Odoo, first principles of the Odoo master production schedule. We're going to use the master production schedule in Odoo to create purchase orders and also to create manufacturing orders. And then we'll have a question and answer session where you get to talk to us and ask us questions. What is Odoo? Odoo is your all-in-one business management software that enables companies, both SMEs and large corporations, to operate in a more efficient way. So basically, it's a software that allows companies to meet their day-to-day operations on a single, fully integrated and a modular system, such that your company operates as a well-oiled machine instead of operating as a chaos. So basically, a point of view is that most companies will use fragmented software to accomplish different parts of their day-to-day operations, whereas Odoo is an all-in-one software management that ensures that your processes are seamless and fluid. Now let's go to the hub of the matter, and that is the master production schedule. What is a master production schedule? It is a detailed plan. That's the first thing we know about the MPS. It's a detailed plan that enables us to meet orders which are demands, and it helps us to work with periods so that we do not miss a thing. Think about it. So if you have an order of 110 bikes for this week and 120 bikes for next week, if anything goes wrong in your planning, you may fail to meet the orders and you may end up losing your customers and you may end up losing to your competition. So there are three crucial points of an MPS, whether it's being used for purchase orders or for manufacturing orders, and that is the quantity that is to be bought or manufactured. So there's quantity and there's also the item. So you have the item and the quantity, whether to be bought or to be manufactured. And the other one is to the demand, because the MPS runs on the demand. And on the left of my slides, you can see that I have the MPS in Odoo. You can see already we have periods, because an MPS, you'll have periods. You'll have the products that you're using to either you're going to purchase or you're going to manufacture. And you also have a forecasted demand, and then you have a replenishment, which is predicted based on the forecasted demand. So here at Vector Velo, this is a bicycle reseller and a manufacturing company where we buy bicycles from outside Kenya and then we resell them based on the market demands. But we also make bicycles internally because we want to create a culture of local consumer local consumers. So I'll show you how at Vector Velo we use MPS to meet our purchase orders. So before moving to Odoo, we used to do it on a whiteboard. Essentially, you have your MPS written out, you have your periods over there, you have the product that is being bought, and you have lead times, because for purchases now we'll be working with lead times. And then you have your requirements. These are the demands, and then you have other items that go into the MPS. Now these details have to be filled manually by hand, and so that tells you that of course it is prone to mistakes. So I'm just going to show you how we can use the same MPS in Odoo, and how it makes our work 10 times easier. So we'll go into Odoo. That's enough chit chat, and we'll see how it works inside. So I'll go to my freshly created database. Here we have it. So we have our database, which is ready for demonstration. Like we said, Odoo is a software suite of so many applications, but for today, we're just going to use purchase, inventory, and manufacturing, just to show you how the MPS works. So I'm just going to go into manufacturing, and this is a view I have. I'll go to configuration, and I'll go to settings. So under settings, we have a section called planning, where we have master production schedule, and we have time range, where I can select the number of periods. So I can either select yearly, some companies work with yearly, others monthly, others weekly, others daily. For this demonstration, you're going to use weekly. And then I'm going to go to products, and I can create a product. Already you can see there are some products that are existing in my database, but I can just show you how to create these products and how we create orders for the same using the master production schedule. So I'll go to new, and I'll create a bike called Bravo Romeo Juliet. That's just the phonetic alphabet that I like to use internally with my team. That's a Bravo Romeo Juliet, and it's a road bike. So that's the name. We want to sell it, and we also want to purchase it. Of course, it's a physical good. We also want to track inventory by quantity, or sometimes you want to track by unique serial number. So I will start with a starting inventory of 350. This is just to meet whatever we have in the slides. And then I have a selling price, which I can set later, and I have a cost, which I can also set as we go. The most crucial part here is just go to the purchases tab, and I want to select a vendor for this bicycle. I'm going to select a bicycle supplier, and this bicycle supplier sells me one bicycle at $1,000. Now, remember, MPS is basically about the product that you're buying. It's also about lead times, and it's also about market demand. Now, we've already talked about our supplier, but now a most crucial thing remains, and that is lead time. So we work with a lead time of 14 days. That's 2 weeks. So I'm just going to save it, and now I'll head over to my MPS. Still in the manufacturing app, I'm going to go to operations, planning, and I'm going to go to master production schedule. Sorry for that. I'll go to master production schedule, and you can see it's clean. No product has been added yet. So I'll go to add a product, and I'm going to select my Bravo Romeo Juliet bicycle. There you have it. And of course, it does not have a bill of materials. I just want to buy it. Just like that, you see, that's the route, and that's the vendor that I already set in my product configuration. Safety stock target, I do not want to have safety stock because our warehouse is small, and I do not want to have minimum to replenish. Now, just a little pause here and mention to probably people who are more conversant with MPS. You can order either fixed ordered quantity. You can either use MPS to do fixed ordered quantities or lot for lot. Fixed orders means I always buy in multiples. Let's say if I'm buying in multiples of 50, I can always buy 50, 100, 150, 200. Even if I have a need of 5, I will always buy 50. If you are using lot for your MPS, it means you only buy what you require, and that is the way to go for us at Vector Velo. So I'm just going to keep it at 0 and I'm going to save. And just like that, we have our MPS with our already the target that we have on hand, which is 350. But let's just go back to our slides a little bit and show you what we are trying to achieve in this slide. So we are trying to replicate the same MPS, which we filled by hand, which someone had to have a lot of information of how this one is done. We are trying to do it in software and reduce the time by a huge chunk. So let's go back to our database and let's replicate the same. So I have the numbers right here with me, and that's basically what I'm going to input and just pay attention at how the quantities are going to change over here. So the forecasted demand, I'm just going to use week 51 so that it's more conversant. It's more fluid. I'm going to put 110. Now in week 2, before I even put in the forecasted demand, I know that I have already planned 150. I have already planned to replenish 150. But then during this week, I have 145. And then in week 3, I have 228. And then in week 4, I have 450. And then week 5, I have 0. And week 6, I have 154 bicycles. And then I have 228 for the next period. 227, sorry. And then finally, I have 300. And there you have it. So now, based on the forecasted demands, and based on the forecasted demands and the amount of bicycles we had in stock, you can see that Odoo will tell me what I need to forecast, what I need to purchase so that I can meet my demands. And I can click my button here, order, just to do the next available purchase order. So I'm just going to click right there, and what I expect is when I go into the purchases app, you'll see that I have my purchase order ready together with the lead times in consideration. So I'm just going to leave the manufacturing app and I'm going to go to purchases, and what do you see? I have a fresh purchase order for bike supplier for 150 quantities. So I'm just going to go inside. So that's a purchase order, that's the item, that's the quantity. But now remember, we need to work with lead times. So the order deadline is Dec 8th, so that the bicycle will arrive in 14 days, which takes us to December 22nd. You remember how we set it up? The product, the quantity you need, and the lead times. So this is already well generated. Now we are going to go back to our MPS. So I'm just going to go back to manufacturing, planning, and master production schedule. Now I can create all these purchase orders so that they will be ready, and our procurement team can know that these purchase orders need to be treated or need to be handled when the time comes. So I'm just going to click on this button here, order, and it will tell me what's the next available purchase order. So that 433 is already created, 154 is created, 277 is created, and 300 is created. Now remember, Odoo does calculations based on the MPS, how it works. It takes into consideration what we have on hand. So you'll see that after a certain time, the quantity on hand we'll have is 0. So let's just leave manufacturing. Let's go to purchase orders. And now you see all my purchase orders are ready. And you can see what are the order deadlines. So if I go into the second one, you remember it was for 433 bicycles. This is the order deadline. So the expected arrival should be in 14 days. So if I go to the next one, you'll see that it was for 154 bicycles, and order deadline and expected arrival based on the lead time that has been configured. And you can see all these are for our bicycle vendor. You remember how we set them up. So that's basically how to use your master production schedule to meet your purchase orders. Nothing has to be delayed so that none of your demand or none of your market demands go unmet. Now we'll go to another aspect, and that is using the MPS to meet manufacturing orders. Like I said during the beginning of this webinar, at Vector Velo, we have two lines of bicycles which we buy from abroad and then resell in our Kenyan market. But we also have a brand of bicycle that we are manufacturing ourselves so that we can encourage local brands. So I'll show you how we use the MPS to meet our manufacturing orders currently using our whiteboard markers and whiteboards, and how tedious the process is. Now, for you to handle the MPS for the manufacturing orders, it's a little complex. You have to first start with what item do you need. So in this case, we have multi-level MPSs. So you have, this is your, again, Delta Romeo Juliet bicycle, DRJ road bike. That's a final assembly. But a final assembly is made of sub-assemblies. So for example, to make this bike, I need these sub-assemblies: frame set, cockpit and controls, wheel system, drivetrain, and seating. But also in assemblies, you may need more than one sub-assembly in some parts. For example, to make one bike, I'll need two wheel systems, right? So one bike, two sub-assemblies. And then we have a level 2, which is basically the most basic. Now here is where we have components. For example, to make a frame set, I need frame, fork, headset, and a seat post. And to make a wheel system, to make two wheel systems, I will need 2 tires, 2 tubes, and a wheel set. So all these have to be taken into consideration. So if you come to Vector Velo, if you go to a place where they are doing MPS by hand, you will find, because you'll have to have a master production schedule for every component and for every sub-assembly and for every assembly. It is tedious, it is hard work, but thankfully in Odoo, it doesn't have to be tough. Let me just give you a practical point of view. This is our bike, that's a final assembly. It has its own MPS with its own pre-filled numbers. Now here, we know the product is a bicycle, but instead of lead time, we have manufacturing lead time. Now it's not delivery lead time, it's manufacturing lead time. And then of course we have our periods and we have our market demands. And then we have our level 1 MPS, and we also have our level 2 MPS. It takes time to make all of this. But now let's go to our demo and do it properly like good Odooers. So I'm just going to show you my database and we're going to do this together. So I'm just going to leave the purchases and I'm going to go back to manufacturing, and now I want to go to products. Now you remember that components make sub-assemblies and sub-assemblies make the final assembly. Now the most crucial thing you have to remember here is the bill of materials. For you to do a good manufacturing, you'll need to have a bill of materials for every item. So let's start with level 2 items. For example, if I come to tires, the tires is already here. You remember how to create the product. I have my tires, and I can select here in my purchases that I always get my tires from my bicycle supplier, and the lead time is 14 days. But now, so it's the same for tires, tubes, and also seating. Now let's go to a sub-assembly. That's a level 1 assembly or level 1 MPS. Let's go to wheel system. Now here I have a wheel system. Of course I don't sell it. Just going to uncheck that, and then you can see I can set it that it's by quantity, and then I will go to, I also do not purchase it. So I'll go here to my bill of materials. That's a smart button. And when I check the bill of materials, I see that there's one bill of materials. And this bill of materials comprises of tires, 2 tires, tubes, 2 tubes. Okay, so already I have my bill of materials inside. Now remember, these are the level 1 items, and they make, finally, when you have the sub-assemblies, you'll finally end up with a final assembly. So I'm just going to use these breadcrumbs to go back, and then go back to products, and now I'm going to show you my Delta Romeo Juliet bike. And it should be here. Delta Romeo Juliet bike. I click inside, and then you'll see that this bicycle is for sale, and I'll go to my bill of materials. When I go to bill of materials, I have DRJ bike. So for me to make one bicycle, I'll need one frame set, which is a sub-assembly. I'll need a cockpit and control, which is also a sub-assembly, and so on and so forth. Now, I will need to go to a BOM overview where you can see what items are actually going into this final assembly. When I go to BOM overview, you'll see that this is a final assembly, but these are sub-assemblies. And if I click the down the arrow, you can see that we have the individual components that go into making this bicycle. So you see already with the software, you can have your bill of materials very neat and nested within each other. So that's our BOM. But now, how do we use the master production schedule to actually manufacture this item? So I'm just going to go back with the breadcrumbs, and there we have it. And I'll go to planning. I'll go to master production schedule, and I'm going to add a product. I'm going to add a DRJ bike. There you have it. Now here, I'll need to select the bill of materials. That's the DRJ bike, and the route is manufacture. This one we do not buy. This one we manufacture. I do not want to keep safety stock. I've already explained that, and I do not have minimum to replenish. So I'm just going to save. Now, what do you notice? I have put only one item, but I have MPSs for the sub-assemblies. Very nice, very beautiful. So what we are going to do, I'm just going to go back to my slides for a moment and show you what we are trying to achieve together. So I'm going to fill the MPS for the bike, but you are going to pay attention and see what happens to the MPSs for the sub-assemblies. So I'm going to fill in the MPS for the full assembly, and you are going to pay attention and see what happens to the MPS of the sub-assemblies. Now, crucial also to remember, if I can just take you one step back, if I go to Delta Romeo Juliet bike, and I go to the bill of materials, and I go there, remember, we not only set up the sub-assemblies and the components, but if I go to the miscellaneous tab, here we are setting manufacturing lead time. And now for manufacturing lead time, I'm going to put 7 days, both for my sub-assembly and even for my final assembly. So we'll go back to planning, master production schedule, and that's what we have. So I'm just going to copy that MPS that we have on whiteboard. We are going to have it in Odoo. So I'm going to start here. Forecasted demand. I'll start with 110. That's a forecasted demand of 110. And there you have it. Then I'm going to put 240 for the second period. Are you noticing what's happening just below? 245, no, 228. And then you're going to have 450. And then 0 for this period. And then you're going to have 154 for the next period. And then 227 for the next. And then 300 for the last. And just like that, I have my manufacturing orders for the sub-assemblies based on the demands for the main assembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on order, and all my manufacturing orders which are ready for the first period will be created. So I have already created that, and for me to see the manufacturing orders, this time I'm just going to go into operations. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think we missed something there. I think I'm just going to redo it. Okay, so this is something we have missed, but I can just recap so that when we were putting the demands here, 110, 240, 228, so as we filled in for the main assembly, okay. Okay, so what I was doing is I was filling in the forecasted demand for the main bicycle. So filled it in based on the numbers that I had, and automatically the manufacturing orders or the numbers for the other MPSs got filled automatically. And then I created order, and what the system did is that it created manufacturing orders for the first period. And now what we are going to do is go to operations and go to manufacturing orders, and just like that we have manufacturing orders which have already expired, because that's how we set up our system. We have manufacturing lead times, and when the manufacturing lead time has passed already, now you see that this manufacturing order was supposed to start 2 days ago. So if I go to number 11, for example, you see this is a wheel system which was supposed to be was supposed to start on December. Schedule date, closing date should have been, starting date should have been December 8th, so that it stops after 7 days. So that's basically it on how to create manufacturing orders using the MPS. And so you can see that, of course, we cannot start unless all items are available. So here you see, now we'll need to go and buy the components before we start the manufacturing. So that's it. If I go to product, once again, just for clarity's sake, if I go to my bike and I go to my bill of materials, if I go to the bill of materials and then I go to miscellaneous, is where I see my manufacturing lead time. And of course, if I want to plan all my manufacturing orders so that I just have a list and the people on the production space will know which manufacturing orders to treat, they will just have to come to the MPS and they will have to create the orders by hand like that, manually, but of course they will come and they will appear in the manufacturing orders list. And you can see that there are manufacturing orders to be started in 5 days, others to be started in 12 days, others in 19 days. And that is basically it with MPS and how to manage your purchase orders and your manufacturing orders. So that has been our journey together. Thank you for listening, and I think we can go to questions. Okay, seeing no questions, I think that's all. I hope you have enjoyed this call. Once again, my name is Al, and it's been a pleasure having you on board. See you in the next one.